The galactic research vessel Eternal Wisdom drifted silently through the cold emptiness of space. Inside its main laboratory, Dr. Vexel of the species stood before a massive holographic display. His 6 eyes blinked in sequence as he processed the data streaming across the screen. Something was wrong with the numbers. Something was very, very wrong. For 300 years, the Galactic Federation had studied humanity. They had watched these strange bipedal creatures spread across the stars with a speed that terrified the older civilizations. The Federation had always assumed humans were simply lucky. They believed that Earth was a paradise world that had produced a species blessed with good fortune. Today, Dr. Vexel was about to discover how catastrophically wrong that assumption had been. The research team had been sent to Earth to conduct a detailed analysis of the planet's evolutionary history. Their mission was simple. They wanted to understand why humans were so different from every other species in the known galaxy. What they found would change everything the Federation believed about the universe. Vexil called his colleagues into the main chamber. There was Specialist Mora from the race, a small creature with compound eyes that could detect the smallest details. Engineer Thrax represented the people, a species of gentle giants who had never known violence on there. Finally, there was Cultural Analyst from the civilization, beings of pure logic who had evolved on a world of perfect climate and abundant resources. They gathered around the holographic display as Vexel began his presentation. His voice trembled slightly as he spoke. He explained that they had made a terrible mistake. For centuries, the Federation had classified planets into 3 categories. Class 1 worlds were paradise planets, where life evolved in comfort and safety. Class 2 worlds were moderate environments with some challenges. Class 3 worlds were the legendary, planets so hostile that complex life should never develop there. The Federation had always assumed Earth was a Class 1 world. After all, humans seemed so fragile. They had no claws, no fangs, no natural armor. Their bodies were soft and easily damaged. How could such weak creatures come from anything but a paradise? Vexil displayed the atmospheric readings from Earth. The oxygen content was 21%. Mora gasped and stepped backward. On her, oxygen levels above 8% were considered toxic. Earth's atmosphere was essentially a slow-burning fire that humans breathed continuously without harm. The doctor continued with the temperature data. Earth's surface temperatures ranged from -90 degrees to +57 degrees on the scale used by most Federation species. This was a swing of almost 150 degrees. Most civilized worlds maintained temperature variations of no more than 20 degrees throughout their entire year. Earth was a world of constant thermal chaos. Then came the geological information. Thrax made a sound of distress as the hologram showed Earth's tectonic activity. The planet's surface was broken into massive plates that constantly moved, creating earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and mountain ranges. Most Federation species came from geologically dead worlds where the ground was stable and predictable. Earth's crust was alive with destructive energy. Vexil showed them the hydrological data next. 70% of Earth was covered in liquid water. This water was not calm and peaceful. It moved in massive currents, created storms of unimaginable power, and could change states between solid, liquid, and gas within hours. The oceans generated waves that could crush spacecraft. The weather systems produced phenomena called hurricanes and tornadoes that could destroy entire settlements. Raised a logical objection. These conditions were extreme, but they did not necessarily make Earth the. Perhaps humans had simply evolved to avoid these dangers. Perhaps they lived in protected areas where the environment was more stable. The doctor shook his head slowly. He explained that this was exactly what he had thought at first. Then he had studied the fossil record of Earth's evolutionary history. What he found had kept him awake for many sleep cycles. The hologram changed to show Earth's biological timeline. Life on Earth had existed for nearly 4 billion years. During that time, there had been 5 mass extinction events. Each one had killed between 70 and 96% of all species on the planet. The causes included asteroid impacts, volcanic supereruptions, climate collapse, and toxic gas releases. Life on Earth had been nearly completely destroyed 5 separate times. And humans had evolved during one of the most dangerous periods in the planet's history. Their ancestors had survived ice ages, predator attacks, resource scarcity, disease outbreaks, and constant environmental change. The conditions that produced humanity would have exterminated any Federation species within a single generation. Mora asked about the other creatures on Earth. If humans were the result of such extreme evolution, what about the other animals that lived there? Vexil changed the display again, and the room fell completely silent. Earth was home to creatures that imagination. There were predators that could chase prey for hours without stopping, using a hunting method called persistence predation. There were marine creatures that crushed shells with bite forces exceeding any known species. There were insects that could lift 50 times their own body weight. There were reptiles that delivered venom capable of dissolving flesh. There were microorganisms that could survive radiation levels that would instantly kill any Federation citizen. The planet was not just it was the most hostile environment for complex life that the Federation had ever documented. Earth made the worst Class 3 planets look like peaceful gardens. The research team realized they needed a new classification entirely. Earth was a Class 5 world, a world where death was not just possible, but was the primary evolutionary pressure for all life. And humans had risen to the top of this nightmare ecosystem. They had not done this through strength or speed or natural weapons. They had done it through something far more terrifying: adaptation. Vexil displayed the human evolutionary data. Humans were pursuit predators who could track wounded prey for days without rest. They could survive temperature extremes through sweating and shivering. They could eat almost any organic matter for nutrition. They could heal from wounds that would kill most Federation species. They could function with damaged organs, broken bones, and missing limbs. Their bodies were not weak, they were flexible. Every other species in the galaxy had evolved for specific environments. They had specialized. Humans had evolved to survive everything. Their lack of natural weapons was not a weakness. It was a feature. They did not need claws because they could make claws. They did not need fangs because they could create fangs from stone and metal and ceramic. The doctor showed them records of human achievements. They had climbed the highest mountains on their world. They had descended to the deepest points of their oceans. They had walked across frozen wastelands and burning deserts. They had survived on every continent, in every climate zone, and in every environment their planet offered. Thrax asked the question that everyone was thinking. If humans had evolved under such extreme conditions, what did that mean for the Federation? Vexil took a long moment before answering. He explained that the Federation had always wondered why humans expanded so quickly across the galaxy. They had assumed it was ambition or aggression or simple population pressure. Now they understood the real reason. To humans, the rest of the galaxy was easy. Though with its moderate climate and gentle ecosystems, was a vacation destination compared to Earth. The planet of logic and order was a comfortable rest home. The paradise was practically a nursery. Every world in the Federation was safer than the planet that had created humanity. Humans were not colonizing the galaxy because they were driven to conquer. They were spreading because to them, everywhere else was more comfortable than home. They found alien worlds pleasant because those worlds were not actively trying to kill them every moment of every day. Processed this information and made a disturbing observation. If humans had evolved as the dominant predator on a world this dangerous, what did that make them in the context of galactic civilization? Vexil did not want to answer that question, but he knew he had to. Humans were not just another species joining the galactic community. They were the apex predators of the deadliest world ever discovered. Every Federation species had evolved to cooperate because their worlds were gentle enough to allow cooperation. Humans had evolved to survive through competition, through adaptation, and through an absolutely relentless refusal to die. The room was silent as this truth settled over them. For 300 years, the Federation had treated humans as curious newcomers who needed guidance and protection. They had seen human friendliness and assumed it meant human weakness. They had seen human cooperation and assumed it meant human submission. They had been catastrophically wrong. Humans were not friendly because they were weak. They were friendly because they chose to be. A creature that had survived 4 billion years of death and destruction, that had outlasted 5 extinction events, that had risen to dominate the most hostile planet in known space, was choosing to be kind. And that realization was more terrifying than anything else in the report, because it meant that if humans ever chose not to be friendly, the rest of the galaxy would have absolutely no way to stop them. They had produced the perfect predator, and now that predator was everywhere. Vexil closed his report with a single recommendation. The Federation needed to update its entire approach to humanity. They were not dealing with a young species that needed teaching. They were living alongside the most dangerous organisms the universe had ever produced. And the only reason the galaxy was still peaceful was because those organisms had decided they preferred peace. The doctor looked at his colleagues and spoke the final words of his analysis. He told them that humans called themselves the children of Earth. He suggested that perhaps the Federation should start thinking of them as what they truly were. They were the survivors of hell. They were the masters of death. They were the monsters that had conquered the monster world. And now they were everyone's neighbors. The research team transmitted their findings to Federation High Command that same day. Within hours, the report had been classified at the highest security level. The common citizens of the Federation would never know the truth about Earth. Some knowledge, the Council decided, was too dangerous to share. But in the quiet corners of the galactic government, everything changed. Humanity was no longer seen as a curiosity to be studied. They were now understood as a force to be respected. They had spoken its truth, and the galaxy would never be the same again.